Welcome to Roots and Resilience. I am Dr. Tejal.
I am Dr. Nehal. We have had some incredible conversations with inspiring individuals that we feel compelled to share with you all.
Listen with an open mind and an open heart. You never know, you might just pick up a pearl that might spark something in you.
Enjoy.
Welcome to another episode of Roots and Resilience. Today on the podcast, we're joined by Dr. Shivani Patel, a multi-award winning consultant orthodontist, Diamond Apex Invisalign provider, and one of dentistry's top 50 in the UK from 2022 to 2024. Shivani splits her time between two prestigious practices, 11 Dental in London and Park Lane Orthodontics in Reading, where she's known for her expertise in face-driven multidisciplinary care. Beyond the clinic, she is a passionate teacher, lecturer, and contributor to leading dental publications, and she plays a key role in shaping the next generation of dental professionals through her work with the Royal College of Surgeons and GKT Dental Institute. But today's conversation isn't just about teeth. We're diving into something much deeper. How Shivani, her husband, who's also a dentist, and their three daughters took a bold leap, stepping away from their busy lives and practices to embark on a 6-month family sabbatical. We'll explore what led to their decision, the challenges, and the powerful lessons they've taken from it. So without further ado, welcome Shivani.
Thank you so much, Tejal and Nehal, for inviting me and allowing me to vocalize my experiences with the sabbatical. I didn't realize how big a deal it was when it's only when you start talking about it to people and they're like, oh, okay, you actually took 6 months off, like completely disconnected. So it's a pretty big deal. And I think now having done it, trying to plan the next one, but encouraging people to take time off and not be fearful about taking that well-deserved time off when it's when your body emotionally of you need to take time off and rest.
Yeah, and do you know what? I think there is something to be said about sharing your story, which is how we connected, and I just loved it that you came up and you said, I also did a sabbatical, and I was like, oh my God, wow! This is such a rare conversation within the profession, and it was really refreshing. But before we go into the sabbatical, let's start sort of at the beginning, and if you can tell us a little bit about your childhood and growing up, because I think that will be a lovely segue into that conversation.
Yeah, so I'm an East African Indian. I came here as an international student. So my parents are from Uganda and migrated to Kenya during the Idi Amin time. So I was born and brought up in Kenya. I left Kenya at the age of 18. So my parents came with nothing to East Africa, which means my dad especially worked very, very hard, 7 days a week. So when we did have time off, it wasn't, flying off to England or America or Australia and those kind of holidays because we had a lovely surrounding. So it would be, come on, let's get into the saloon car, and off we went for a safari. And he was very adventurous. So staycations was the way forwards, as it was for very many East African Indian families living in Africa. And that's where the adventure began. Just trying new places, just going off in a car. And these were small cars. We didn't have the money to afford to buy a four-wheel drive. So the hubcap would fly off, or you'd get a puncture and then you have to hitchhike a ride with all these Maasais in the back. And you only realize it's an adventure when I came to university. And I used to regularly see buffaloes and wildebeests and giraffes and zebras taking the bus to school. And that wasn't the way people grew up when I came to university. And I thought, gosh, that's where the adventures began, where every single moment counted as, come on, let's go drive somewhere, let's go figure it out. And that's where the love of travel and exploration started.
Wow, that sounds amazing. It literally, the childhood of, say, our childhood, Tejal and I's versus yours, wildly different. And this love of adventure, it's amazing how you always had that within you. And then when you traveled, was that one of the reasons that you wanted to do your sabbatical, to travel and see more?
Well, at university, it kind of disappeared, the whole travel thing, because I think you're so intensely, actually, life is just so timetable, don't you think so? There's a time to go to school, and there's a time to do
Yeah.
GCSEs and A levels. And oh my God, would you ever ask your parents for time off after your A levels to go before you go to university? I don't think I even would have the courage to say, Mom, I'm taking a year out. She's like, what do you mean you're taking a year out? It would be like, go to university, get a job. But people do take time off, which is really nice, but they have those different experiences. Right now I feel people are taking time off before university because they didn't get the grades, they didn't get a place, they don't know where they're going, there's no direction. People take time off after university because they don't really know what job they're going to do or where they're going to go. Do they want to do a master's? Which country do they want to live in? And then I think the right time where people do take a break is when they really wait till their kids have grown up and they think, okay, now we've got money, our mortgage has been paid off, we can retire. But sometimes you don't know if you're going to even be with your partner. You might have that empty nest syndrome. You have nothing in common with your partner. You might not have the money and you might not have the health, because these kind of sabbaticals needs health and finance. So why did we decide to take time off? It all started from my husband taking a sabbatical by himself, and we had just had our twins. And he woke up one day and he's one of these people that just jumps out of bed at 5:30, raring to go for work, loves every moment of every working day. And he said, I'm not feeling it. I need a break from work. I think we should all just go traveling. And that is not possible with 15-month-old babies and a 6-year-old. I said, there's no way I'm going to be pushing a double buggy and carrying, snacks and nappies everywhere. That's not going to happen. So why don't you take the time off? So we planned a sabbatical, and he did the first 3 months. It was 6 months, and did all the things he wanted to do, which was liverboards, went to Australia and washed the ashes, golf camps, cooking camps, meditation. So he went to Sadhguru's ashram in India, did all the yoga and meditation, and loved it. And came back a totally refreshed, totally different person. And that kind of total difference has still, can you say, we've got to go. We have to do this. You've got to find a window where we can go, where our kids are big enough to experience and be part of that adventure and activities. So the best time we thought was when my daughter was going from prep school to secondary school, because we figured out between that last term, March to September, once you've got your secondary school place, you're pretty much not doing too much learning in school. And it didn't matter for the twins. They were 7 then, and it's okay to be missing school. So, a little bit of homeschooling in the back of the car and you'll be fine. So we started planning. But these kind of things need planning. 2 years beforehand, we had an exit plan. We knew we were going to exit 2 of our businesses and sell them before we go on this sabbatical. We'd given all the notices to the schools, telling them we are going for this. And we actually got the blessing from the headmasters. Like, that's fabulous. Just go and do that. What an experience to be able to do that. What a privilege. So that's how it started, is that there was a lot of positivity behind going. But there was a lot of planning, because you've got to hibernate your house. You've got to get everybody ready at your work. And because it was total disconnection, we didn't have any connection with work in terms of emails, WhatsApps. Wow. So you can't be fear driven and controlling. You've got to let go and trust your managers, and your managers have to trust you, that you've trusted them, that they can do this. And so you're empowering the whole team. You will be fine. And that's it. Because if you keep in touch with work and have all those WhatsApp groups, with your families, and everything is still, we disconnected from all the groups as well. So,
Wow.
We didn't really know what was going on back home.
I just want to take a pause there. Yeah, I just want to pause there, because that's huge, what you've done. And it's not something that you come across, people who are able to entrust their businesses and totally disconnect for such a long period of time. So I think it's incredibly commendable and super courageous and brave. But clearly there was a bigger vision behind this, and there was a purpose behind this, and the will of what might come out the other end of it was so strong that you were prepared to go through. I actually had a conversation with a lady, and I wonder if she'll be listening to this, because she's also a business owner, a dentist, has a daughter, a teenage daughter, and she was like, Tejal, I really want to take a sabbatical. I was like, well, that's great. You've got a business, which is actually financially puts you in a little bit of a better position. So why not? Why, your daughter doesn't really need you. She's grown up. Like, if you need to take time out, do it. And she was like, but Tejal, like, I'm so involved in the business. Like, I need things to be done a certain way. And she wants to be like, be aware of what's going on. And I think that letting go part of it seems like such a scary thing. So, how did you bring yourselves to be comfortable with that?
So, with the experience of running the business, we realized that you've got to have systems and protocols, and everybody has to know that system and protocol. So, whoever comes into the business gets trained in that 11 way. Um, and not only that, but you also want to overstaff. We realize that if you overstaff, if one person leaves, it's okay. You've still got enough people in the admin team, still got enough people in the nursing team. So you want to overstaff, you want to have good systems and protocols that everybody is very clear about. And you can't micromanage. That doesn't work with being a good business owner, a good leader. If you're really standing on everybody's shoulder and micromanaging all the time, that is not going to allow people to grow. You're not going to see their full potential because they're just depending on you to tell them day to day what to do. So once you've trained people, it's touching back with them all the time. We have time on a Monday morning, which is a dead time for us between 8:45 and 10 o'clock, where the practice is absolutely shut, no patients. But that's the time where everybody's training happens. Everybody restocks, everybody catches up. We go through new schedules or protocols, and that happens every Monday. So now everybody's comfortable that the bosses or the partners of the practice are touching base with us. The finger is also on the pulse because all the reports are read out to us. Everybody presents reports. All admin teams present. They're all PAs to particular clinicians. So everybody is given a chance to learn, but then to showcase that learning back to you, so then you know where everybody stands in terms of their growth potential. So it's empowering people, getting the right team as well, and that takes time. Getting the right clinicians that if you're not there, they're not going to be phased. They then become leaders of their particular specialty. Getting the right managers as well. And if you don't find the culture is correct or the team member is correct, then and they need that micromanaging all the time, because if you're what we tell our staff is what matters is what you do when we're not watching you, not what you do when we are watching you. That's pointless. I'm not
Hmm.
supposed to work hard when I'm watching you. The results and the hard work should be done when I'm really not around. That's how you should be. The work ethic should be different. So we got lucky that our teams at both our practices have been with us for so long. We've invested in all the lead people of each team. So then they're there to set a good platform to everybody else.
How long did you have your businesses, and when and before you took the sabbatical?
So we'd had 11 for 15 years. But the thing is that in 11's history, we had a period of 18 months. We sold it to a corporate, and a month later, our business shut down completely. We had a problem in the building, and overnight, we had no building at all. So we were working for 18 months, renting various rooms, 5 rooms a day, all over Harley Street. And we'd never know where we're going until the night before, where Dentex would say, fine, you're going to number 20 and you're going to be at number 1 and you're going to be at 121 Harley Street. And we did that for 18 months. So that was quite disheveling for our team. We lost a lot of patients that didn't want to go to multi-sites anymore for hygiene and a checkup, and the orthodontics was back there. And then they bought us a brand new building, 6 floors, 9 surgeries, which we refurbished completely from scratch. It was a building site. It opened 8 weeks before we went on our sabbatical. And that is not an ideal time for a brand new practice beginning, and then the partners go away. And everybody knew we were going, including the corporate that owned us. And so Samir's wonderful phrase is, "You've got this. You've got this. You've all got this." And that was it. When we returned the first day, I remember sitting for lunch, and Samir says, "It feels like we never left, because none of our team left. We never had any complaints from patients. None of our patients left. None of the associates grumbled. It was just as if we had just gone for a little break and come back. It
That's
just,
a sign of a
Wow.
well-run business, right? And
Yes.
actually, that is a goal as a business owner of any in any industry, is that when you're not there, that business is still
Still
functional,
running. Go
and
for
and
it.
and
Yeah.
You
that's
know, there's, yeah, go on,
I
Tejal.
think that's incredible.
You know what I'm really impressed by is the amount you trust yourself and how much you trust your team. And I think trust is so important in healthcare, not only between your patient and you as a clinician, but within your team. And obviously, it takes time to build that. And it's commendable to you how you've done this. This is absolutely incredible. And I hope you are really, really proud of yourself because you should be to step away for 6 months, do something wildly different and come back to your business. It is incredible. And what you were saying earlier was really powerful. I love how you have that dead time on a Monday morning and everyone gets to present because
Yeah.
then everyone probably feels involved and they have a sense of ownership within the practice as well, which
Yeah.
is really, really, really important
And
in team.
accountability as well.
Yeah,
Accountability of these are my responsibilities, and now I have to showcase them through whatever it is that their Excel spreadsheets, and they have to actually stand up and present it. So we know everybody's new patient numbers, conversion numbers, leads coming in, what marketing is working, what isn't working. And I think, the reason why it's like this is because I've got two male partners, and males are geared in a very different way. They're more macro managers, they see a vision and then they'll delegate. Whereas I feel with females, we have that fear factor. We just can't let go. Everything has to be micromanaged because we see them, having had this male influence for such a long time, because we have a Henley practice. We sold it just before the sabbatical, and that we had had for more than 15 years. And then we had a brand new practice, which is only a year old, and we let them be as well, and they grew as well. Is just saying, you've got this, you'll be fine. And I think that just puts a bit of confidence in people, saying, you know what, they have some trust in me, and you know what, if I do have an issue, they're just there, they haven't just disappeared for forever.
And
um,
yeah, and also just realize there's never going to be a great or perfect time to do this, right? There's always
yeah.
going to be something or the other going on with the business or your personal life that you'll always find an excuse to not do it. So almost it's like once you've made the commitment that you're going to do it, you go for it. Whether it's 8 weeks before you're moving into a new build, or like just and having a new business sort of a year old as well. Let's just go with it, and it will be fine. And having that sort of positivity behind it. I'd love to go a little bit into sort of what you did. So tell us about where you went. How did you plan it? Did you have a rough idea, or did you have an itinerary, or was it completely like, let's go with the flow? Because obviously you had three daughters with you. And
yeah.
when was this, and how old were the kids at the time?
So this was in 2023. The twins were 7, almost 8, and Sarovi was 14, almost 15. So how did we plan this? So we hadn't had children for 7 years of our marriage, because we got married straight after university, and I continued studying. So in those 7 years, we traveled a lot. So we had decided to choose countries we had not been to. Um, and we went according to the weather. Actually, because we were leaving in March, we thought the best thing would be, now that COVID has gone and Japan has opened up, is start with Japan and then work back towards England. But when we inquired and we were starting to do our research, it still felt like Japan was a little closed. You always had to be with a tour guide, and we didn't want to do that, to be stuck with a tour guide the whole time. Because when you're going for such a long time, there has to be a bit of free flow of movement and no rigidity, and wake up and do this and do that. And otherwise that's going to burn you out and you're not going to last for the 6 months. So we decided, where is the weather good if we didn't go to Japan? So we then looked at Central America. We've done a lot of South America, Galapagos, Peru, Brazil, Argentina, and all of that. So we said, let's start in Panama, because that is like a wonder of the world, that Panama Canal. That is like the most amazing thing. Like, what is it? What is the history? And then let's go into Central America. So what we did is we went to Trail Finders, because we thought, how can we put this together? We just needed somebody to ignite how to schedule everything. And so we went to their South America specialist, and she said, have you considered Colombia? And when you think of Colombia, you think of, Pablo Escobar, and how can we go there? Like, no, 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 that's a no-no. She's like, that is the most amazing place you can go to. I said, fine, let's do Colombia and then drive into Panama and take it from there. So she got us going with Colombia, and we're like, fine, let's start. And we decided every country should be 3 weeks, because if you're exploring, 3 weeks gives you a good chance to drive through the whole place. It wasn't meant to be a self drive until we realized by mistake one of the countries was a self drive, which was Costa Rica. And we didn't realize on the booking it said pick up your car, and then that's how you were going for the rest of it. So then we thought, okay, this is good. Let's just book self drive for everywhere else, because it was really easy driving. There's big roads for the big trucks, all the Del Monte trucks that are taking all the pineapples and avocados and everything everywhere. So it's very conducive to driving. And every homestay we went to would send us the Waze link the day before. So everybody was on WhatsApp, and everybody was sending Waze links. And we thought, this is great. This is easy. We can do this. So that's how we started. Colombia, and then Panama, Costa Rica, Guatemala, Belize. And then the weather started getting bad. So that was March, April, May. And then the rainy season started. So we left and then went to Southeast Asia. And we started then Sri Lanka, 4 weeks in Indonesia, because Indonesia is incredibly long. And even 4 weeks, our visa was about to finish. We didn't finish the last part, which was Raja Ampat. And then across to Thailand, because Philippines had typhoon season. And so that's why we did the Philippines in Easter, which was the booking that we originally had. So that's how we planned it, according to the seasons, according to the countries we wanted to go to that interested us the most. We learned Spanish for 6 weeks. We had Virginia from Argentina who used to dial in, and twice a week we would sit down and learn online Spanish.
All of you, all 5 of you.
All of us.
That's
and
incredible.
There's people yawning, people doodling, people interested, participating. And then we realized places like Guatemala, you just had to speak Spanish. Nobody speaks English there. We weren't in the cities, so we really had to haggle, order things in Spanish, ask for directions, all sorts of things. And that was good. That really made us strong.
Wow. Two things.
And participating.
So 2 things come to mind. Firstly, when you mentioned Colombia, you might have noticed huge grins on Tej and I's faces, because we traveled to Colombia. We traveled Colombia together with one of our really close friends. And it's an amazing country, and we were exactly the same as you. You have this perception of Colombia, but actually when you go there, it's the most fun, colorful, vibrant, friendly country with so much to do and see. So amazing, and your journey sounds incredible. And 2, I think that's the coolest form of homeschooling. Learning Spanish with an Argentinian, all 5 of you together. It's amazing.
So we thought, you've got to get into it, right? You just can't go there and then start speaking English or using Google Translate, and it was so many Spanish countries, and it's such a lovely language to learn. You realize, actually, wish I'd learned Spanish rather than French in school, because it's more useful than the French is. But we learned a lot. We learned a lot about each other as well on this trip. We had to let go before we left. We all had to give up something that we each other didn't like about our personalities and things. And we made a pact. We had some family rules that we had to adhere by. Like now we're going to unknown places, like participating. Participation was important. Having your opinion. If you're asked, what should we do today? Let us know. Don't just go with the flow. Everybody had to write a journal. So these are my children's journal books that I have here. And every day was a page that they wrote what they did. And then we saw hummingbirds, and then they may be an illustration. There'll be a gratitude. So we had to every day have a gratitude moment, and the moment of the day. What were we thankful of? And what was the highlight of the day? And those were essentials. We had to give up our phones. So my teenage daughter was not allowed to bring her phone. on this trip, which was a big give up for her because I said, Sravi, you'll be finishing school, your friends will be going to all these leavers parties, and all you're going to be wondering and wishing is, I wish I was there. So let's be present in the moment. Let's enjoy because this is not going to come back again. And the phone will always be there, and so will your friends. But this won't be there. So she said, fine.
Wow,
That's
so there wasn't a battle to convince her. She willingly agreed. How wonderful.
so she said, okay. I said, she goes, but you have to give up something too. And I said, oh, what is that? And she goes, you can't be stressed and you can't shout at us. And I said, okay, I'm going to try my best not to
How
shout.
long did that last?
I promise I didn't shout the whole sabbatical. I did.
Wow,
That is
There was no
amazing.
time schedule, right? It's like it wasn't like, come on, come on, come on, get into the car. I got 7:45 train to catch. It was not, there was no. Everything was like, okay, yeah, we have to get up at 1:30 and climb a volcano, but that's okay. It was not like a daily battle.
yeah.
So yeah, I
So,
didn't.
how do you feel like your relationship with your family changed after the sabbatical, or even your relationship with yourself?
I think with each other we became so much more tolerant. Most times, all five of us would share a room. Most places in Central South America, they put us in these rooms like the Seven Dwarfs. They had these single beds everywhere, and we'd have our backpacks at the bottom, small bathrooms, and we became tolerant that way of each other, which was really nice. We spend more time chatting, discussing, playing games, early to bed, early to rise. So our habits really changed that way as well. What did I learn about myself? That's a good question, actually. Being present in the moment, because you're always planning for the next step and the next step and the next step, and just realizing that life can be simple. We just lived out of these five t-shirts and three shorts and all this minimal stuff that when I came home, I realized life is so chaotic and complicated. It doesn't need to be. We don't need all these things. We don't need all these rooms and these big houses. And I realized life can be simple, and there is fun and simplicity as well.
That really resonates because when I came back from my sabbatical, Shivani, I literally was obviously like you guys on a backpack for 3 months. I came back and I was like, I've got too many clothes.
Decluttering
I did a
everything.
massive cull. I was like, I'm gonna have literally 10 t-shirts, 10 trousers, 10 joggers, or whatever. Like I just made the number 10 out of convenience and just stuck to it, and I was ruthless. And now, even now, when I buy something new, if I buy something new, something has to go. So I just don't want to keep accumulating and
Yeah,
having to, spend all this unnecessary energy deciding what I should wear. Because listen, most of the time we kind of wear the same 10, 15, 20% of our wardrobe anyway. The rest is just clutter. So
exactly.
that's so interesting that you felt the
It
same
just
way. But
we
yeah.
just needed to declutter. You know what we found hard is when we came back is Samir and I found it really hard to settle back into normal life again. And had have the rigidity of being so timetabled and everything. There was just too much noise. The phones were pinging all over again, all those WhatsApp messages, all those good morning emojis, and all this. It just didn't need that, that
Yeah.
chaos and bright city life and lights. And it took us a long time to settle back into that. We were really uncomfortable, like um, almost to the point of it felt like anxiety coming back.
It,
Um,
I feel like we are really overstimulated, and because we're so accustomed to, we've desensitized to the fact we are so overstimulated, it's become like a normal. And
yeah.
it's only when you take yourself away, or sometimes I go away for like a solo retreat or a weekend away, and then I just purely to disconnect and just to kind of, just reconnect to that simplicity of, and I don't think humans were wired to be so stimulated, and I think a lot of our problems come from that, but won't go into that. Maybe that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah.
But going back to when you were away, did you have any moments where you're like, where it was a struggle or that you experienced like challenges, and how did you overcome or deal with it?
You know, we didn't think we knew we were excited, we were doing this thing. We never really thought about the safety aspects, and until we had dinner with some friends a week before, and they said, "Have you taken out kidnap insurance?" And so we said, "Does that even exist? Why would we do that? You're going to Colombia and you have little kids. You should look into kidnap insurance." And that's when, there's little alarm bells. So, are you going to sew Apple tags into their jackets? Because don't put it in the pocket. Somebody can take it out. I had never heard of Apple tags before. And we came home that evening and I said, "I don't know, Samir, should we be doing that? Should we be tagging our kids? Should we be putting necklaces around them with our mobile numbers on there?" And like, what? And they're like, "Have you written your will? What will happen if all of you die?" Oh my God, all these kind of things started happening. And we're like,
Such
"Okay,
great friends, positive friends.
we'll do this." And I said, "Listen, what's going to happen is going to happen. Just share the Excel spreadsheet with your mom so she knows every day where we are, what country, what hotel. She knows where we're going to be. And then that's it. We're just going to go." We were very, very lucky. We didn't have, in fact, everywhere was so safe. They were all orientated towards family. As soon as you say anything, they'll be like, "Oh, welcome to Costa Rica, Pura Vida." Everyone was so welcoming because tourism hadn't begun in all these places. And most of the time, until we got to Bali, we were the only tourists. We almost stood out like sore thumbs. Either were we from Mexico or were we from Spain? Like with the colors, they couldn't tell where we were until we started speaking. Everybody was friendly. We never felt that we had to quickly walk to the car, or we can't go out beyond 9 o'clock because it's unsafe. So that way, for safety, no incidents there. I think the only things to kind of say is each one of us, apart from myself, fell sick just once. But had to keep going. Whether we were still ziplining or water, whitewater rafting, everybody still had to keep doing the adventure because there was nowhere to rest. So each person fell sick for a day. That was an event for us. And I got stung quite badly by a jellyfish. That was an event because whichever beaches you went to in Costa Rica or anywhere, we were the only people on the beaches, and the waves are huge. And the girls are quite good swimmers, so we were diving into the wave. And I remember looking back at one of my little ones, and I said, "Okay, we've got to time this." And then we both dived in, and it felt like this big bramble branch just going across my legs. And I came out of the water. I'm like, "I am eaten by a shark." And I started legging it to the beach, and the others couldn't hear me, so they were running behind me until I got to the car. And somebody's like, "What's bitten me?" I'm like, "I think a shark has bitten me." I couldn't. And my leg was all red, and clearly a shark had not bitten me. Didn't know what had happened. We just jumped into the car, got back to our Airbnb, and looked at my leg properly, and it was jellyfish. So the Airbnb people said, "Somebody's got to pee on you." Everybody's so shocked. Nobody can pee. So we're like, "Okay, they said, fine, let's just put some vinegar on there." That's as eventful as it got. That was it.
Wow.
There was no other times where we felt threatened or somebody stolen something or,
Did
cornered us.
did it
That
restore your faith? Did it restore your faith in humanity to a certain degree?
Yeah, people are really lovely out there. People
Mm.
are really welcoming. People love families, love kids. They love people from around the world. And we're not open to that, I think. We're in a society where we're so prejudiced and judgmental, and these are all very poor people. These countries are super poor. And it's nice to see that people have very little, yet they're so proud and happy in everything, pride in whatever they're doing wherever they are.
Mhm.
We didn't feel any society across the board was disgruntled in any way.
Wow. What was your kind of most profound grateful from the whole sabbatical? I know this is probably a really, really hard question, but I suppose when you were having those moments of gratitude with your family every day, was there a particular day where you're grateful has really stuck with you?
I think just grateful to make this opportunity and do these kind of adventurous things where everybody is on board. There was never a day where the kids are like, "Oh, when are we going home?" Or "I don't want to do this and I want to stay back at the hotel." And we were worried because they are small. 7-year-olds are still quite little. And we were going to be rappelling down waterfalls and doing all these walking. We did a lot of bicycle rides. In Colombia, the first thing you do in the city is when you get there to Bogota, we did a 4-hour bike ride because then I said the only way we're going to get into this is we've got to do that. And then you've got to climb Montserrat. So you're so jet lagged and you're doing all those things. And we were worried because one of our little ones actually has a vitamin D deficiency. So her legs really hurt to the point where they just hurt and it's nonstop crying. And you have to press them. And we thought, how is she going to do this? So we planned that worst comes to worst, we'll buy those metal packs. And she's small. She's actually the size of a 5-year-old. So we'll put her in there and then we'll take it in turns. We'll just carry her. I kid you not. That child was a different child. And I think that's what I was grateful for. She was the first one, always up volcanoes, up Montserrat, cycling away. Her legs never hurt, not even one day. And I think her body type is attuned for a warm country. And I think as soon as a bit of sun hit her, they would, yeah. If there was anything like zip lining, she volunteered first. I'm going first. I will jump off that waterfall first. I will jump and do canyoneering. She'll go fast. And that's what I was grateful for, that my kids could do all these activities because they were never car sick or air sick, not sick, afraid of heights. We did snorkeling with them. So they knew how to snorkel. So when we dived, three of us are advanced divers and the other two had to snorkel on the top. It was okay. They could do all that and we could get on with doing. So I think that's how you have to prepare your kids. We've never taken them to luxury holidays. So they don't know what it's like to sit in business class or be in a 5-star hotel, just lounging by the pool. Because once you do that, and there's nothing wrong with that, there's nothing wrong. We do have our Maldives holidays and things, but now we do. Then your kids get used to that luxury and they're seeking to sleep in proper beds or not having cold
Comfort.
showers and comfort. They're
Yeah.
seeking comfort. And it's very hard to say, no, we're not going to do that. So you've got to, when you have this adventure, you've got to make sure your children are the right age. And I think 7, 8 is the cusp of being able to participate and remember. You want them to remember too.
True.
um, Talk about this, and we talk about it all the time. We'll take out our journals, we'll randomly open to a page and then we'll read that and then we're like, oh yeah, do you remember that? And we'll look at all our photos of that particular day, and that's the only way, because there will have been little jokes and quirks and things that have happened, and we keep referring back to them. So it's our life has now become a sum of these experiences and these
Yeah.
moments that 5 of us have shared that we keep talking about because we can remember them.
That is such a
Wow.
special, wholesome, like memory, this 6-month adventure to share with your family. And I think this is something you'll carry with you and the girls will carry with you forever, really. And I think that's super lovely, super special. Did you find your girls changed in any way
Yeah,
after?
again, go for it, girls. When we came back, because our house was hibernated for so long, we didn't have, our boiler had broken down. We didn't have hot water in our showers for 2 weeks. Nobody noticed. So, like, okay. And now when we travel, it's very little. Their bags barely get to 9 kilograms. They're so happy wearing the same clothes. Um, yeah. So they've become very simple travelers and up for adventure all the
Fantastic.
Wow.
time.
I also think this experience will do amazing things for their confidence, just
Yeah.
generally, which they can carry forward through their lives in their older years. And it's just thank you for being so open and sharing your journey so beautifully. I genuinely, and I know I speak for Tejal and I, like we genuinely feel moved. It's just such a, you should write a book or
Right.
like have a movie.
Yeah. I did record everything on Instagram was the only thing I was on, and I remember parents saying, we would tell our kids, oh, Auntie Shivani has posted something, so we're going to listen to her story. And then they played their stories to the girls that were in Swara and Sachi's class, and because it would be like, oh, we're here today, we're at Guatape or El Peñol, and we're going to climb this, and this is the story behind that, or Tirona Beach, and how many hours we trekked and how many steps we did, and this is the best beach, Cabo Beach, or whatever it is in Colombia. So yeah, it would be great to write or at least give guidance, right? Because sorry, Tejal, you had asked, did we book everything ahead of time? We had to, because we were a family of 5 and we had children, so we had to have predictability of where we were going to stay. It had to be basic but clean and safe. And so actually the whole entire trip had been pre-booked right from the beginning. So we kind of
Did you
knew.
use sorry to interrupt, did you use a travel guide, or like you said you consulted trail finders,
Trail
but did you
finders.
eventually?
Was just for the Columbia, as in she got us going on the Columbia,
Right,
but we
okay.
didn't
Did
go
you
with
do it
them.
all yourselves then?
We did it all ourselves. We used the Lonely Planet, Googling. Sometimes when you go into different people's sites, they'll have things mapped out for you in the correct way, which is what place follows after what. Sometimes they recommend hotels, and we thought, oh, okay, that's the hotel they're recommending because of the vicinity of where it is. And we realized that if we put a package together, it was 3 times the price of if we did it ourselves. And so we did it ourselves, internal flights. And these days it's all really easy because bookings.com, you book it, you can almost
Yeah.
cancel it to the point of you're about to go to the hotel, and you can cancel it. So you can get to a place and somebody will say, oh no, but that's better, stay there an extra day, and so just adjust it on bookings.com, and then you've stayed an extra day. So yeah, for safety and predictability, we'd book the entire thing. Samir had this Excel spreadsheet, so we knew where we were going the whole time, what sort of forms and visas and all sorts of things that we had to do, but it made it much easier. Yeah.
Have you
Wow. And so
inspired your, sorry, go on, Nahal.
we have so many questions.
Yes.
I think we'll need you for a part 2, Shivani. So now when the kids want to go on holiday, is the bar set so high that it's like, wow, what's going to be a 6-month sabbatical?
So we've got this postcard. I'm not in my office, but I have mapped out from that sabbatical all the holidays that we can take and all the countries we want to visit. It kind of stops this July because then my daughter hits GCSEs. So I don't know what sort of people we're going to be next year, not having travel. We're going to be pretty grumpy, I think. But Namibia is our last trip in July, and we are planning our next sabbatical. It might not be a continuous 6 months because it's a lot of change that's going to happen in our family in 2027. The little ones will go off to secondary school, so now they have a window to miss school. So Rovi probably won't join us because she'll be in her A-level year. So it'll just be the 4 of us, but that's our last year of our earnout, before we actually finish our 5-year earnout at 11 and are either free to go or continue. So there's a big change happening there. But with that, we're definitely planning 2027 March to September to travel. This time Japan. Yes, that will be on there, and then work our way back. We've done Vietnam, Cambodia, but work our way back Vietnam, Cambodia, and do Africa, then Mozambique and Zambia and Botswana. And
Beautiful.
so that's the thing we want to do there.
I love how you're thinking 2 years.
I'm just thinking about it. I want to just.
This is as an orthodontist. Orthodontist plans, your treatment plans are like 2 years, right? So this is the transferable skills I can see.
So in 2 years' time, this is where I'm going to end up.
Oh,
Yeah.
you have literally inspired me. I'm going to literally be thinking 2027, what do I want to do? But you're right, you have to plan for it.
You have
It
to
doesn't
plan.
just happen. It doesn't
No,
happen
it doesn't.
overnight. You can't just, in
And
a couple of months.
sometimes
Pack your
we think,
bags, leave.
I think I'll do this and then I'll go. I think I'll buy a house and then I'll go. And just go,
Mm.
because once you go, you think, oh, this was the best thing ever. This is the best thing that I did.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think also when we've reflected on, when you lose your loved ones, honestly, the most precious thing that you leave behind are memories. Honestly, nothing else compares to that. So just, spending your time making the most of good health and your circumstances is absolutely amazing. And I think you must have inspired your friends, like, with families, to
Travel, yes, because
do
there
this
was a
sort
big
of thing.
carry of share your itinerary to Sri Lanka and share your itinerary to Costa Rica, and we did, because they're just on Excel spreadsheets. You can just send that. Everything is, even the Philippines, even Namibia. It's all there. Where we went, who we went with, which companies we used when we were, doing an activity, what guides they were, how much it cost as well, because that's important, right? You got to budget yourself. This isn't an endless. 6 months is an expensive time,
Yeah,
so even the costing of how much it cost us and each country cost us at the bottom, that's important, so people know how to budget, because you got to budget, right? Otherwise, it can easily, if you can finish your money in the first country and then you have nothing left for the other eight that you went to.
yeah,
That's an important part as well. Finance. Yeah.
amazing. Oh no, it's been super, it's just incredible to hear about this. And as Nahal said, we are really grateful for you to, coming on here and sharing this aspect of your journey. And we probably will have to do a part two at some point. But
Dive deep into the details of everything. But yeah,
as you,
definitely, Tejal, you're on your journey of travel too, right?
Yeah,
So
and I think this is it. And I really feel like travel has this insane capacity to allow you to connect with yourself, with life, with the wider world. And I honestly found, like, we are fed so much negativity through media, and your perception of the world honestly can be really skewed because of that, and you're constantly fearful. And I was solo by myself for most of mine, and honestly, it wasn't something I had ever done before, and part of me was like, I'm going for it. But there was also a part of me that was like, I hope this turns works out okay, because I felt very vulnerable. But honestly speaking, I just realized the world is such a friendly place. And you almost have to just experience it for you to, to rediscover that confidence in people really that people.
absolutely. And there are lots of, when we went, we found that there were a lot more female travelers, single female travelers by themselves or in twos or in threes. In fact, we met a dentist from Bristol. She happened to be sitting next to us in Colombia. And
What are the chances?
she was by
Yep,
herself. And
we get
she,
around.
Sonia, maybe she's listening to this, and she, was taking time off from her community. She's a community dentist, from her community post as well for a few months, and had been traveling Bolivia and Chile, and she was ended up in Colombia. But you're so right. The world, we're so much more streetwise, I think, on adversity, we have an instinct as well,
Yeah.
and yeah, you'll be surprised. There are lots of single females that travel because it has become safer. Things are available on the phone. You can Google things straight away.
Absolutely. The information is at your fingertips, and as long as you've got a sensible head on your shoulders, you're sensible with your risk appetite when you're
Yeah.
in these situations. And I honestly, I couldn't, I just all just everything that happened was just incredible. Like, I just cannot. I maybe I was fortunate as well, but it was just such an insane discovery that this is, this is a thing. And I think, like you said, we've been so timetabled in life,
Yeah.
and sometimes you just have to break free from that, because I don't think as humans we are wired to be so um constrained in these rigid, like, rigid timescales or routines. Routine is good and I guess it works for society, but I think sometimes for ideas to flow, to kind of really expand what's possible for you to, you really have to shed what you know and just get out there to just let your brain expand. Um,
Exactly.
so
And
yeah,
it just resets you again, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
recharge. You need
from your
it.
cocoon, you're in like this cocoon. We live in a privileged society,
Yeah.
and everything is on a plate for you. It's a good time to reset and realize what else is going on around the world.
Hmm.
It's
And I
a
also
real
feel like, yeah, no, no, please continue, Shivani.
It's a real eye opener with the way people live, and the privileges that you have, and it just puts your life in perspective again. That what was I grumbling
Absolutely.
about so much?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. What we're moaning about, we've got so much to be grateful for. Really, the simple things, food, shelter, nice family, support. It's the real simple
Safety,
things that
in the
safety.
UK, safety,
Yeah,
no
absolutely.
adverse weather, no typhoons and earthquakes, and we don't have to think about things like that. The small
Yeah.
things.
Very true. And I think one thing that I'm sure a lot of our listeners also taking away is that as healthcare professionals, we often are so good at looking after everybody else and we're not good at looking after ourselves. And, Tejal talks about this a lot. Sabbaticals aren't a thing in healthcare. I've got friends that work in different industries. It's normal to take unpaid leave for 3 to 6 months and go off traveling.
Yeah,
What you both have done is abnormal in dentistry. But actually, we should be doing more of that. So I know we've given the listeners a lot of food for thought.
yeah.
And
Food for thought, and definitely just go for it. Go for
Yep.
it at some point in your life.
I've literally been inspired.
yeah,
100% gonna go for one.
do it. And actually, so Shivani, if you didn't have your businesses, and then it's a bit of a hypothetical question, if you didn't have your businesses and a source of passive income, would it have still been possible for you to do what you did?
Yes, because our businesses, I guess, are your businesses, your associates, that's a source of income. But I think, and this is what was missing at dental school, learning finance. And we learned a lot of our finance from one of Samir's uncles. We got onto that property ladder really early, and he said, listen, why are you wasting money in rent? Everywhere Shivani goes to work, you have to buy a house there, is whether it's a house or an apartment. And so we rode up the property ladder that way. So that is passive income as well. So that was passive income that was coming. You have to do a little bit of whatever is right for your investments. Your investments become your passive income, as well, and those are the things that actually funded, our rather than our income from 11 or Park Lane. It was those investments that really funded. As soon as things matured, we would then put it on our Revolut, and then that's the thing that would pay for Sri Lanka, or that. And so that was a bit of hindsight. I think more on Samir's side, he's more inclined towards the finances and taking advice from his uncle. That you Yeah. And I think even if it's not for traveling, I think every dentist should be having some passive income somewhere, whether it's ISAs or investments or S&P 500, depending on what risk level you want and what sort of portfolio you want, and whether it's properties. But there has to be some sort of supplementary income to your main income as
No,
well.
no, absolutely.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah,
sometimes when
I
you
think
realize when
COVID
you can't
showed that,
work,
didn't it?
when
Yeah.
you
yeah,
can't, if you're handicapped, like, what can you do if you can't go into work? So you
exactly.
definitely have to think long term, think outside the box, and you have to take ownership of educating yourself around it because quite rightly we are not trained to do any of that. Yeah, it's a journey that I think I still see myself as a bit of a baby on, but I am certainly taking more ownership on
Yeah.
of.
And
So
ask people. There are lots of people out there, mature dentists, that will be, yeah, Daniel, this is what you should do. I think you should put some money in here. This is what's worked for me. Or let's get you an account on, I don't know. Somebody will say Hargreaves and Langdown, and that's S&P 500. Just, that's a medium risk, because those 500 companies are always going to make you money. So the more you'll speak to people, the more they'll tell you, oh, this is what I do, and this is what I do. Apart from my practice income, this is how I make this income, and take a little bit from everybody.
mm,
Um, for those who are willing to share. Not everybody's, not
Yeah, and I
everybody.
feel like there is definitely value in being open and sharing, and just like you've been super open and really candid, we really appreciate that. We really value that. So, as we wrap up, I know this conversation could definitely carry on. If there was one message, I feel like you shared several, but if there's one message you wanted to share with our listeners, that really you'd love for them to take forward, what would that be?
I think my message would be don't be fear driven. Don't let fear drive anything, any decisions that you make in life. Um, you don't want to get to your last day saying, I wish I had. Just do it. Whatever you want to do, whether it's a hobby or travel or change of profession, just do it. Because it's that moment, and create those moments and experiences, because it's not going to come back. So just go for it. Just take the risk. It'll be fine. It all works out at the end.
It
You got
always
this.
works out.
You
It
got
always
this.
works out. Amazing. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
your
so much.
time, Shivani. It's been
Thank
lovely
you
having you
for
on.
inviting me. It's been exhilarating speaking to both of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoy this episode, don't forget to hit follow on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and to hit subscribe on YouTube so that you never miss a new one. It really helps if you rate and review the show, and if you found this episode valuable, share it with a friend, family member, or colleague. We appreciate your support, and we'll catch you next time. Bye bye.